Um, a lot was said about the day that he was brought into the temple for his dedication. Then we now discover that 2 ministers, including one that was praying to die, but God gave him a promise that he will not see death until he sees the consolation of Israel. Those were the people that did not have a text message, no WhatsApp message, no Facebook Messenger. Both of them came into the temple at the time of his presentation. And they were the one that took over the activity of his dedication. It was Simeon that said in that day that this child is born for the rise and for the fall of many in Israel. And it shall be a sign that many shall speak against. Jesus was coming into the world. The prophecy about Jesus was that he will be a sign. Many people will speak against him. Then after that happened, they now gave us a snapshot of when Jesus was 12 years old. And in the culture of the Israeli people, in order for you to be declared a man, you must be able to recite the Torah and also stand before the doctors to take questions and to respond. When the doctors can verify that your comprehension of the Torah is articulate, then you are declared a man. The day you are declared a man, your mother is not allowed to look on your nakedness. The day you are declared a man, if you want to marry the next day, yes, the person that you are going to take his daughter should consider you seriously because you are a man. Even if you are 96 and you want to marry, and you were not declared a man from the temple, nobody will give you their daughter. Are you still with me? Yes. Let me show you what happened before we go on. He said, the former treatise have I made, O Theophilus. Then he summarizes Luke, the content of, and I can show you, break Luke into departments, but in the day of that summary, the summary was the things that he did and preached. The day they do the summary, that's your fiery message you preached, they will not capture it. Meanwhile, it was a big thing for you. After you finished preaching, they gave you $2,000. You went home and said, "Kai, your level has increased." But that message will not be in the summary. You know, we are in the apostolic school. Let's talk like men. Let's talk like men. It's not as if we don't know John 3:16 to talk about love. So Jesus came to the temple. This was his own experience. Are you there? He didn't even tell his parents that he was going to take a shot at the panel. The parents left without him. When they discovered he was not in any of the companies, they went back to look for him. This was what they found when they got there. Luke chapter 2, verse 46, so that I will not waste your time. And it came to pass, after 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting in the midst of the doctors, both hearing them and asking them questions. Now okay, yeah. And all that heard him were astonished at his understanding and answers. There's a problem there. The problem is in 46. Because when you stand before that panel, you are not supposed to ask the panel questions. The panelists are the ones that are supposed to ask you questions from any portion, any part of the 5 books of Moses. So this is what happened. Meanwhile, this was the scene the parents came to see. Other things happened that are not recorded. When they found him, this was what they saw. So they had asked him questions according to the custom, and he had answered the questions. Then he now, it's okay, speak freely. He now asked them questions. The people that were supposed to be on the panel, he threw a few questions to them. And unfortunately for them, they could not answer. So in the next verse, the Bible says, many were astonished. He was the one that asked questions. And many were astonished at his understanding and answer. He was the one that eventually answered the question because the panelists could not answer. That was what the parents came to see that was recorded. Exactly. Next verse. And when they saw him, they were amazed. And his mother said unto him, Son, why hast thou dealt thus with us? And thy father have sought thee sorrowing. Yes? What did he say to them? Jesus was surprised that they did not know that it was supposed to be about his father's business. He was amazed. Well, I don't want to go into that now. But I have enough time at least to make you understand that at the age of 12, he was clear about his calling. You are still looking for... At the age of 12, he was clear about his calling. He was clear about where his destiny lies. Go on, next verse. Let me just read my verse so that I will not take too much time. So just in case you think that the statement he made was because he was becoming spiritually proud, the Bible says in verse 51 that he still went with them home and was still subject to their authority. So it was not spiritual pride that was being displayed there. It was spiritual knowledge. And then in verse 52, which is where I'm taking you to, this is another executive summary. And Jesus increased in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and man. This is a summary of 24 years in Jesus' life. This verse. This is 24-year summary. So you can now understand when the Bible says the former treatise have I made, O Theophilus, of all that Jesus began both to do and to teach, as the executive summary of the book of Luke. And according to the executive summary in the book of Acts chapter 1, you see, he began both to do and to teach until the day in which he was taken up. That means the day he ascended. The description of his life and times was what? The things he did and the things he taught until the day in which he was what? Taken up. Now, so at this point, we will need to ask ourselves, meanwhile, so if the same people that summarize 24 years as one verse, summarize 30 years as one verse, summarize 24 books as half a verse. Okay, let me leave you. You don't want to hear that one. You want to clap. If those same people come to summarize your life, in terms of how relevant your days have been to establishing and enforcing and extending the frontiers of the kingdom of heaven, you will now discover that it's very scant. And that's why the apostolic must come back, so that purpose can be restored. At some point, we didn't know what we were doing in church again. At some point. At some point, it became an elitist thing. It was a thing of class, where people just come like that to show stuff. We didn't know why we were in church at some point. And that's the kind of thing that happens when the apostles are absent. At some point, comedians found a way into church, because the pastor is expecting that people should be depressed. So we need to do something to encourage them so that they will not go all out. They will not be victims of anxiety. It means that with all the things we're doing in church, we were conscious of the fact that anxiety had overtaken the congregation. At some point, in order for you to be a church man, you need to go somewhere in Kumasi, take some power and put on your eyes, and then that's the church became a shrine. That's what we're doing, where we use tricks from Satan to come and dazzle the people of God. When the apostolic people are not there, we lose track. Their voice is strong, very strong. It's coming from a place of deep conviction to challenge a generation, and that's why they become objects of attacks and all of that. So you cannot fulfill apostolic ministry without being a major subject of attack. You can't. You can't. Because the apostle will challenge the status quo. He will remind us that that's not why we are here. Even if the thing is working. So they say it's bad market. It's breaking the table. I remember they organized a meeting and called one of the fathers in Nigeria that had not bowed to Baal yet. They didn't know that so many people would want to come for that meeting. So they called him. When all the people that now decided to come for the meeting came, if this man holds this mic, we're going to have problem. The way they the politics with which his slot disappeared. He said, since he was young, he has never seen that type of politics in the house of God. May the Lord give you understanding. A senior minister was warning me, he said, you are doing well. Be it known to you that the politics in church is more than the ones in our political parties. He said, just in case you are not aware, take note. So, politics becomes the agenda when purpose is lost. And you see, you know when God gives you authority, just like Saul, they gave him authority, they anointed him. That's how he ascended and became king. Because of his reckless ways, God decided to withdraw that authority. But all that was left was political power. And because there is no vacuum in the spirit, when that authority was withdrawn, an evil spirit from the Lord was licensed to come and fill the void. So, are you there? Yeah. So he was using his political power to keep his relevance. For many ministers of the gospel, the true authority of Jesus had been withdrawn, and what is left is just political power. And in most cases, there is also an evil spirit. Please, I know Ghanaian pastors don't talk like this, because I'm seeing mommy, the mommy did like this. Mommy, you need to hold your heart, because I have not started. You need to hold here. Hold your heart very well. When people can successfully do unscriptural things in public view without any remorse, you need to now ask, what spirit is at work here? Because no matter how your title is, it doesn't give you more authority than the Bible.